She makes it home. She showers. She lays out her clothes for the next morning. Everything is normal. Nothing is out of place. The kind of routine that repeats itself every single day without thought. The next morning, she should walk out of her apartment, lock the door, step into the Florida sun, get into her car, and drive to work like she always does. But she never makes it. Her car is found later, parked about a mile away, and someone else is driving it. Someone caught on camera. Someone calm. Someone who does not look like they are in a rush. The camera captures them clearly. 3 separate frames. 3 chances to identify the one person who might know exactly what happened. And in every single frame, their face is hidden, blocked by a fence at the exact moment they pass. Not once, not twice, every single time. It looks impossible. It feels deliberate, like whoever that person is, they somehow knew exactly where to walk. No face, no identity, no trace. Just a person who steps out of Joyce Kesse's car and disappears into the day as if nothing ever happened. Before we continue, thousands of people watch these documentaries without subscribing. If you don't subscribe right now, YouTube's algorithm will never show you our content again. You won't see updates on Jennifer Kesse or tomorrow's investigation. We release cases daily at 7:30 p.m., but we can only reach you if you're subscribed. Please hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment your location below. It takes 1 second. Jennifer deserves her story told. Please help us. Jennifer Joyce Kesse is 24 years old. Young, independent, and focused. She is not drifting through life. She is building it step by step, decision by decision. She was born in May 1981 in New Jersey and raised in a structured, supportive family. The kind of home where expectations exist, but so does encouragement. From early on, she shows discipline. She knows what she wants. She moves to Florida to attend the University of Central Florida, where she studies finance. She graduates in 2003, stepping into adulthood with a clear direction. And she does not slow down. She begins working as a finance manager at a timeshare company. A serious role, a demanding one, not something handed to her, something she earns. By 24, she has what many people are still trying to figure out: a stable career, financial independence, a future that looks secure. She even buys her own condominium. That detail matters, because it shows something deeper: confidence, stability, control over her life. Her friends describe her as responsible. Her family describes her as grounded. Nothing about Jennifer suggests risk. Nothing suggests chaos. She is not someone who disappears. The weekend before everything changes, Jennifer goes on vacation. St. Croix, warm weather, ocean views, a break from routine. She goes with her boyfriend, someone she is close to, someone who knows her habits and her patterns. They return on Sunday. She spends the night at his place. It is calm, normal, no arguments, no tension. Then Monday begins. January 23rd, 2006. Jennifer wakes up, gets ready, and goes to work. Everything about that day follows the same structure as every other day in her life. At around 6 in the evening, she leaves work. She calls her parents while driving home. They talk like they always do. Nothing unusual. No concern. No indication that anything is about to change. That call becomes the last time her family hears her voice. She arrives home. Later that night, around 10, she speaks with her boyfriend. They talk. They say goodnight. And that conversation ends like every other normal night. And that becomes the final confirmed moment of Jennifer's life. The next morning should be routine. Jennifer has a habit. She always calls or texts before leaving for work. Always. It is part of her routine. Something so consistent that when it does not happen, it stands out immediately. But that morning, there is nothing. No message. No call. Her boyfriend notices first. He tries to reach her. The call goes straight to voicemail. At first, it does not feel like an emergency. Maybe she is in a meeting. Maybe she is running late. Maybe she simply forgot. But then something else happens. She does not show up to work. Now the situation shifts. Her employer contacts her parents. And within hours, everything begins to unravel. Her parents drive 2 hours to her apartment. They walk inside. And immediately, something feels wrong. Not because of chaos, but because of normalcy. There are no signs of a struggle. No broken furniture. No forced entry. Instead, everything suggests she got ready that morning. A wet towel. Clothes laid out. It looks like she woke up, showered, prepared for work, and then left. But never made it to her car. or never made it out of the complex, or something happened in between. Her car is missing. That is the first real clue. So now the search begins. Family, friends, and police move quickly. Flyers are printed. Searches begin. People walk the area, checking roads, corners, parking lots. But nothing is found. Then 2 days later, everything changes. A call comes in. Someone has seen the car, parked at another apartment complex about a mile away. It has been sitting there, unnoticed. Police arrive and confirm it is hers. And then they check the cameras. What they find becomes one of the most frustrating pieces of evidence in true crime history. A person, parking Jennifer's car, stepping out, walking away, captured clearly, multiple frames. But their face is never visible. Every time they pass the camera, a fence blocks the view. Perfectly. 3 frames, 3 chances. And every single time, nothing. No face, no identity, just a figure. A person who may hold the answer to everything. Investigators analyze the footage. They estimate height, between 5'3" and 5'5". But that is all. No gender confirmation. No distinguishing features. Nothing usable. It is as if the one person who could explain everything walked directly in front of the camera and still disappeared. And that becomes the first real shock in this case. Not just that Jennifer is missing, but that someone else was in her car. And they walked away like nothing happened. So now the question changes. This is no longer just about where Jennifer is. It becomes something deeper. Who is that person, and how did they manage to remain completely invisible, even when caught on camera? The moment investigators see the footage, everything changes. This is no longer a simple missing person case. Someone else has been inside Jennifer Joyce Kesse's car. Someone has driven it. Someone has parked it, and then calmly walked away. That one detail shifts everything, because now there is proof. Jennifer did not just disappear. Something happened to her, and someone else knows what it was. Police begin where they always begin. The people closest to her. Family, friends, boyfriend, co-workers. They go through everything carefully. Phone records, messages, work interactions, relationships, looking for tension, looking for motive, looking for anything that doesn't fit. But nothing stands out. Her boyfriend is cooperative. He answers every question. He explains their last conversation. He accounts for his time. He is cleared. Her family is cleared. Her friends are cleared. Even an ex-boyfriend who had tried to reconnect with her is investigated thoroughly. He is also ruled out. So the investigation moves outward. And that is when something begins to surface. Something that had seemed small before. Something that now feels much bigger. Jennifer had been uncomfortable where she lived. Her condominium complex was under construction. Workers were constantly present. Men she did not know. People moving around freely. Watching. Observing. She had mentioned it before. To her family. To people close to her. They catcalled her. Whistled at her. Made her feel watched. That detail matters now. Because if someone had been observing her routine, they would know everything. What time she left. Where she parked. How she moved through the complex. And more importantly, when she would be alone. Investigators begin focusing on the construction workers. But almost immediately, they run into problems. Many of the workers are not documented clearly. Records are incomplete. There is a language barrier. Communication becomes difficult. Interviews become inconsistent. And over time, many of those workers disappear from the area entirely. They leave. They move on. And with them, any potential answers begin to disappear too. That moment becomes critical later, because it raises a question that never fully goes away. Was the opportunity missed early? Could someone have been identified in those first hours before they vanished? Investigators return to the footage. Again and again. Frame by frame. They slow it down. Zoom in. Enhance every detail. Trying to extract something. Anything. The person steps out of the car. Closes the door. Walks away. Not rushed. Not nervous. Just calm. Controlled. That detail stands out. Because whoever this person is, they are not panicking. They are not looking around. They are not acting like someone who just committed a crime. They are acting like someone who knows exactly what they are doing. The camera captures 3 separate images. 3 chances to identify the person. And every single time, their face is blocked. By the fence. Perfectly aligned. It feels almost impossible. Too precise. Too exact. Almost like they knew where to walk. But there is no evidence of that. Just the outcome. And the outcome is frustrating. Because the one person who could explain everything is right there, and still completely unknown. The FBI is brought in. They analyze the footage. They estimate height. Between 5'3" and 5'5". That is all they can confirm. NASA even assists in enhancing the images. Still nothing. No face. No identity. Just a silhouette. A moving shadow tied to the only physical clue in the case. Then investigators turn to the car itself. If the footage cannot reveal the suspect, maybe the vehicle will. The car is processed thoroughly. Every surface is examined. Every possible trace is collected. But what they find is unexpected. The car appears to have been wiped down, cleaned, as if someone deliberately removed evidence. That detail changes the tone of the investigation, because now it suggests intent, planning, awareness. This was not random. This was not careless. This was controlled. There are no clear fingerprints. No obvious DNA. Just a small fiber. And a partial print that leads nowhere. Inside the car, valuables are still present. Nothing appears stolen, which immediately rules out robbery. This was not about money. Jennifer's personal items are missing. Her phone, her keys, her purse, her briefcase, the clothes she was wearing. All gone. And none of them have ever been recovered. Her phone is never turned back on. Her bank accounts are never accessed. No digital activity. Nothing. It is as if she vanished completely. Search dogs are brought in. They pick up a scent from the car, and they begin tracking it across the area, following the path carefully. And then something unexpected happens. The scent leads back toward her apartment complex. Not away from it. Back. That detail becomes critical, because it suggests that whoever abandoned the car returned to the area where Jennifer lived. That raises a new possibility, that the person was local, someone familiar with the environment, someone who knew the layout, someone who could move through that space without drawing attention. And if that is true, then the suspect may have been closer to Jennifer than anyone realized. Investigators expand again. They turn to her workplace. Co-workers are questioned. Records are examined. Her computer is analyzed, looking for anything. And one detail stands out. A manager had shown interest in her, wanted something more than professional. But Jennifer refused. She did not mix work with personal life. Investigators focus on him, interview him multiple times, dig deeper into his timeline. But nothing connects him directly to her disappearance. He is ruled out. Once again, the investigation hits a wall. No suspect. No clear motive. No direct evidence. Just fragments. The car. The footage. The missing items. The workers. The unanswered questions. Then time begins to work against the case. Leads begin to fade. Memories become unreliable. People move. Details blur. And the urgency that existed in those first hours begins to weaken. But the case does not disappear, because the image remains. That one image. A person walking away from Jennifer's car. Calm. Unidentified. Untouched by the investigation. It becomes one of the most recognizable pieces of evidence in true crime. And one of the most frustrating, because it feels so close to an answer, and yet so far from one. Her family refuses to stop. They push for answers. They demand progress. They keep her story alive, because they know something important. Someone out there knows what happened. Someone saw something. Someone recognizes that figure, even if they have never come forward. And that possibility keeps the case alive, even as the investigation slows, even as time passes, even as answers remain out of reach. So now the question becomes more focused. Not just what happened to Jennifer, but who that person is. Because everything leads back to them. The only person seen with her car. The only person connected directly to the last physical evidence. The one person who walked away and disappeared just like she did. So here's the question. Do you think that person on camera was someone who knew Jennifer and planned this, or someone who simply saw an opportunity and took it? Comment below. Time does not move the same way in a case like this. Time, which once worked against the case, begins to offer something new. Technology, advancement, new tools that did not exist before. Evidence that once seemed useless can now be re-examined. Tiny traces can now reveal more than they ever could before. And that brings renewed hope. Years later, the case is reviewed again, transferred, reopened with fresh eyes. New investigators begin looking at old evidence, looking for what was missed, looking for what could now be understood differently. Thousands of pages are reviewed. Dozens of people are re-interviewed. The list of persons of interest is examined again. And then something important happens. New DNA evidence is identified. evidence that had not been fully explored before. That detail changes everything. Because DNA does not rely on memory. It does not fade with time. It does not forget. It simply waits, waiting for the right technology, waiting for the right moment. And now, that moment begins to arrive. Investigators announce that the case is no longer considered cold. That alone is significant, because it means something is happening behind the scenes. Something is moving. The pool of suspects begins to narrow. From many, to fewer. From possibilities, to focus. Artificial intelligence is even introduced as a possibility. To analyze the footage. To reconstruct the face that could not be seen. To finally identify the one person who has remained unknown for so long. And suddenly, after years of silence, there is movement again. Not answers yet, but direction. Progress. The kind that has been missing for nearly 2 decades. But even now, nothing is confirmed. No arrest. No final conclusion. Just the sense that something is getting closer. That the truth is no longer as far away as it once was. And that brings a new kind of tension. Because after all these years, what if the answer has been there all along? Hidden in the evidence. Hidden in the footage. Hidden in the silence. Just waiting for the moment when someone finally sees it clearly. So here's the question. Do you think this case would have been solved quickly if today's technology existed back then? Or do you believe something deeper is still being hidden? Comment below. For nearly 2 decades, everything in this case has revolved around one image. A person stepping out of Jennifer Joyce Kesse's car. A person captured clearly, and yet never identified. That single moment becomes the center of everything. Because if you can identify that person, you can unlock the entire case. Who they are, where they came from, why they had her car, and what happened in the hours before that footage was captured. But for years, that answer remained out of reach. Investigators enhanced the footage. They slowed it down. They isolated frames. They studied posture, stride length, body proportions, anything that could give them a clue. But every attempt ended the same way. No face, no identity, no confirmation. Just a person walking away from the only physical evidence left behind. And that frustration begins to define the case. Because it feels solvable. It feels close. Like the answer is just out of reach. But never quite attainable. So investigators begin asking a different question. If the footage cannot give them the identity, what can it tell them about behavior? The person is calm. That matters. There is no urgency, no hesitation, no panic. They do not look over their shoulder. They do not rush away. They simply walk. That suggests something important. Control, confidence, familiarity. Whoever this person is, they are not reacting to a situation. They are executing something. And that detail shifts the narrative again. Because it suggests planning. Not randomness. Not chaos. Something deliberate. Then there is the car itself. Wiped clean. No usable prints. Minimal trace evidence. That is not accidental. That is intentional. Someone took time to remove evidence. Which means they understood what evidence could reveal. That suggests awareness. Possibly experience. Or at least preparation. And then there is the route. The car is found just over a mile away. Not hidden deep in a remote area. Not abandoned randomly. Parked in a residential complex. That decision matters. Because it suggests the person knew where they were going. They chose that location. They walked away from it. And they disappeared into an environment where they would not stand out. Which raises a critical possibility. That the person blended in. That they belonged there. Or at least looked like they did. And if that is true, then the suspect may have never left the area at all. They may have simply walked back into normal life. Unnoticed. Unquestioned. Invisible. Then investigators begin revisiting everything. Every assumption. Every theory. Every missed detail. Because time has changed something important. Technology. What was impossible in 2006 is now possible. Evidence that once seemed insignificant can now be re-examined. Trace DNA can now be amplified. Partial data can now be reconstructed. And that brings the case back into motion. New investigators review old files. Thousands of pages. Every report. Every statement. Every timeline detail. They begin re-interviewing people connected to the case. People who had already spoken years earlier. Because time changes memory. And sometimes, it loosens silence. Then comes one of the most important developments. New DNA evidence. Evidence that had not been fully analyzed before. That changes everything. Because DNA does not guess. It does not speculate. It points. It narrows. It connects. And for the first time in years, the investigation has direction again. The pool of persons of interest becomes smaller, more focused, more specific. Not just possibilities anymore, but targets. At the same time, new tools are introduced. Artificial intelligence. The idea that the footage itself could be reanalyzed, that patterns could be detected, that facial reconstruction could be attempted, that the unknown could finally become known. It sounds like something out of the future, but it is happening now. And if it works, that one image, the one that has defined this case for years, could finally reveal the identity behind it. But even with all this progress, there is still no conclusion, no arrest, no charges, no confirmed suspect, just movement, just the sense that something is getting closer. And that creates a new kind of tension, because after all these years, what happens when the truth finally surfaces? What happens when the person behind that footage is identified? Do they deny it? Do they explain it? Do they admit what happened? Or do they remain silent, even when the evidence points directly at them? And what if the truth is not what anyone expected? What if it was not a stranger? What if it was not random? What if it was someone closer than anyone realized? That possibility has always existed, quietly, in the background, unproven, but never dismissed. Because cases like this often hide something simple, something overlooked, something that only becomes clear with time. Jennifer's disappearance becomes more than a mystery. It becomes a case study, a turning point, a reminder of how quickly a normal day can become something else entirely, and how fragile routine really is. She did everything right. She followed her schedule. She lived responsibly. She had plans. And still, she vanished. That is what makes this case so unsettling. Because there is no clear mistake, no obvious risk, no moment where everything visibly went wrong. Just a gap, a short distance between her apartment and her destination, where something happened, and no one saw it. Or if they did, they never came forward. Her family continues to wait, to push, to hope, because hope is the only thing that has not faded. Even after years, even after silence, even after every unanswered question. And now, with new evidence, that hope grows again. Not certainty, not closure, but possibility. The possibility that the truth is closer now than it has ever been. The possibility that the person on that camera will finally have a name. And when that happens, everything changes. So now the questions become sharper, more direct, more uncomfortable. Do you believe justice can still be served after nearly 20 years? Do you think the investigation missed something critical in the first 48 hours? Could this case have been solved if the initial response had been different? Is it possible that the person on camera has lived a completely normal life all this time? And if technology finally identifies them, what should happen next? So here's what I want to know from you. 1. If the suspect is identified today, do you think that would finally bring justice? 2. Do you believe the early investigation failed Jennifer in those first critical hours? 3. Do you think someone close to the case has been hiding the truth all along? 4. Should artificial intelligence be used to reconstruct identities from surveillance footage? 5. What is harder, never knowing what happened or discovering the truth decades later? Drop your answers in the comments. I'm reading every single one, and I want to hear what you think because this case doesn't have easy answers. Jennifer Joyce Kesse walked out of her apartment on what should have been a normal morning. She had plans. She had a routine. She had a future that was already in motion. But somewhere between her front door and her destination, everything stopped. Her car was found. Her belongings were missing. And the one person who may know exactly what happened was captured on camera, yet never identified. For nearly 20 years, that person has lived without a name, without accountability, while Jennifer's family continues to search for answers. This case changed laws. It exposed delays in how missing persons cases were handled. It forced improvements in investigations across Florida. But even with all that progress, one truth remains. Jennifer is still missing. And until she is found, until that person is identified, until the full story is told, this case is not over. If you want more cases like this, where the truth is hidden in plain sight and justice is still within reach, subscribe right now. Turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Comment your location below and tell me what you think really happened, because your voice keeps these cases alive. And I'll see you tomorrow at 7:30 p.m.